We're three millennial Latina first-time moms and entrepreneurs who connected at the start of our radio careers. From partying at nightclubs to figuring out night feeds, we've been friends for 14 years.
We're not experts, just honest moms navigating motherhood together, from pregnancy and the newborn stage to toddlerhood, one phase at a time.
We're excited to share what we've learned, what we wish we'd known, and everything in between.
Welcome to Nightclubs to Night Feeds.
Episode 11.
Jeez, flying
Lucky
by.
number.
I know, lucky number 11. That was always my lucky number 11.
Yes.
Yours
That's
too?
cute.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
I never had a lucky number.
Really?
Yeah.
In
No.
school, I was always the 11th because it's based off your last name.
7 and 11 are lucky numbers, right?
Yes, they
Yeah.
are. Yeah. But I never was like, I don't know.
You're more horoscope.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk all things from newborn to infant, that transition, because I feel like newborn, you're such in that fog, that phase. It's also
Yes.
new, but then once they become an infant, which is technically 6 weeks plus,
Yep.
which is so quick.
I know.
So fast.
Yeah.
That's why so quick
But
and slow at the same time.
You're doing more. You
Yeah.
kind of have a groove of baby is here,
Yeah.
swaddling,
Oh, God.
feeding, naps.
Drama.
What
Wake
things
windows.
did
Wake
wake windows.
Freaking wait. Okay, I remember. Oh my gosh. I remember moms around me would be like, I would ask questions like, what do I do when I come home with a baby? And they'd be
Yeah.
like, you'll just know it's fine. They just eat, they sleep. They eat, they
Yep.
sleep. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But no one told me about wake windows.
Yeah, like fill in the gaps.
I just thought
Yeah.
when he got tired or like when he would show the little signs that he was tired,
Then
then
he
I
would just go to sleep.
Then he would just go to sleep. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I wish someone told me about the wake window.
I don't
I didn't.
even
When did
know.
you catch on to that? Because
3
I was like
months.
3. Yeah, I was like 2-3 months.
I was
Yeah.
drowning in
Yeah.
like until I found out, and I think it was Instagram when I saw it was like a post about like wake windows. I'm like, wait, what is a wake window?
What is this?
And I like Googled it, and I was like, what? Why didn't anyone tell me?
And you know what's crazy is it's not that nobody told me, because again, I took all of the classes
Yeah.
and they would talk about wake windows, like I was familiar with it, but in that fog,
Yeah.
I'm
don't think
doing
about
so
it.
many other things. I'm like, I'm not like counting the wake window. I'm
Yeah.
counting the naps. I'm doing this XYZ, worrying about the breastfeeding, the mastitis. I'm like, I'm not gonna like. It just wasn't on my radar until I had the bandwidth. Like at 2-3 months, I'm like, oh wait, I need to start like really paying attention to his wake windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like for me it was probably after she turned a month.
Oh,
Because
okay.
a friend had referred a book to me that was like cherishing the first 6 weeks, because
That's
she
cute.
reached out to me. She had become a mom before me, and her daughter was like, I think 6 months older than Poppy. And she was like, oh, this book really helped me. And so I was like, okay, great. And we were only in week 1 or whatever. So she was like, it's really cool because all the chapters are broken up by week. So like you can read week
Oh.
1s now and just start where it starts, like wherever it starts. Because she was like, a lot of people, at the very newborn age, a lot of people are like, we're not getting on a schedule. Even at the infant age, we're not getting on a schedule. I'm just following when he falls asleep, when she falls asleep, and we're just going from there.
Yeah.
Eating
Yeah, I was
on
doing
demand, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, that does not work for the way that my brain works. Like, I have to have a schedule,
Yeah.
especially now because I am trying to do some work while like in between things if I can. And so once I started reading the book, I was like, oh, the wake windows are when like, because if you don't, basically the thought is if you don't follow them, then the baby can be more cranky. They're overtired. They're, especially if you have a baby who doesn't fall asleep easily after that newborn
Hello?
Yeah.
phase.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same.
Like we had to like force every nap. It felt like pulling teeth, like just to get her to go to sleep. And
Really?
Yes. Oh yes.
Even
yes.
that little?
Yes.
Oh,
Girl.
So, oh my
Really?
God.
idea. Yes, it's
Sometimes
hard,
like
yeah.
literally like 30
Santi
or 40
just
minutes.
sleeps. Like
Yeah.
he's
God
been a good
bless.
sleeper.
God
You
bless,
have-
that is,
you have
yeah.
a very rare gem.
He reminds
Yes.
me of me, and even my because I love to sleep, and like I will
Me
sleep
too.
in. I want to go to sleep. Like I enjoy sleep. So
Yeah.
Henry's up like at 4 a.m. because he's like, I need to get my day started.
Very
I'm like,
productive guy.
what? You're insane.
Yeah.
And I'm
Drew's the
like,
same way.
yeah, I like want sleep.
Opposites.
So that's when Henry's like, he's your child because like he's so good. Like if we put him to sleep, he
He's
sleeps.
like, okay, mama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
No.
just like how you were thinking it was gonna happen.
Yeah, no, my child is not like that. My
No.
child, it
Yeah.
was like,
the
still to this
convincing
day,
the
it's
convincing to nap, like still till this day, obviously,
Yeah.
is like such a hard thing. And I feel like the wake windows, obviously, like there's pros and cons to following the wake windows. So for everybody that's listening, like 0 to 1 month, we have a little chart up here because we all
we
forgot.
don't remember.
We all forgot what it was like. So like 0 to 1 month, the wake window is typically 45 minutes. So the wake window means that's the time they're
That's
awake
amazing.
between naps, which is crazy because it's like, wow, they're only up for 45 minutes. Then they go back to sleep. And they wake up
Which
for
is
45 minutes
essentially
again,
eating
back to sleep.
in that 45 minutes.
It's literally eating. And then once they're 1 to 2 months, it's like 45 to an hour. 2 to 4 months, their wake windows 1.5 to 3 hours.
Wow.
5 to 8 months, it's 2.5 to 3 hours, and then 9 to 12 months is 2.5 to 4 hours wake window.
Like right now, Santi stays awake for like 4 hours.
Yeah, so he's at that. Yeah, because he just turned a year.
14 months.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, Saint's at he's awake in the morning for about between 4.5 and 5 hours.
Yeah.
Then he goes down for a nap, and then the last chunk of the day, it's like 6 to 7 hours. He's awake
Before
for.
bedtime.
Yeah, it's the long leg.
Yeah.
It's, and I feel like with the wake window, so in this book, it kind of like walked you through every week of setting. It's basically to set up your infant on a schedule, which again, a lot of people are like, I don't care. But for me, I was like, by the time she's 6 weeks, I kind of want to have a schedule in mind.
Right.
And so by the time the 5th week approached from this book and learning the wake windows, she was sleeping all night. I was able to like get her on a full schedule, and it was lovely. It like definitely made things easier, and I feel like made her less cranky because again, I didn't know before like, okay, they should be eating in between the wake windows usually. And then as they get a little older, then you're playing with them. It's like playtime for that 30 minutes. Then you feed them for the other 30 minutes. Like it just, I think it helped me break up the day too, when it just felt like a continuous feeding, napping, eating, like it just kind of helped me know, okay, the next wake window is this time. So I have this time to like get whatever I need to get done before she wakes up again.
Now that like we do have like a schedule with the wake windows and he is good with the naps, I was telling you guys like he's in between dropping that second nap.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So on the days when he doesn't take it, I'm like, okay, he's awake. So now I have this extra time.
Yeah.
What am I doing with him? I'm like, what do I do? Like on those days, Henry and I are like, do we just play more, like everything? And then like he's getting bored of everything. So I'm like, shoot, like I have to find more activities to do.
Okay,
yes.
I want to be like have an honest conversation. What is screen time looking like? Like how often is it?
That's
TV
a great
on?
question.
Even
at
if
3 different
looking at
ages,
the TV.
1, almost 2, and 3.
And I like how you brought that up when I'm saying this because that was mine and Henry's conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I do have stuff to do and he has stuff to do, so I'm like,
Same.
now he's just awake more, you know, like what do we do with him? And so I was online reading like what you can do with him. And it's like, even if he doesn't go down for his nap, which sometimes he's not, they still need like their own quiet calm time. So I'm like, okay, that's great because that's like alone time, quiet time for himself, which I appreciate too, because it breaks up that leg for me, that last leg of the day.
Yep.
And so I'm like, what does that look like? Sometimes this kid will really go in his playpen and he can't read, but he's flipping through the books.
I love that.
And he'll just do that. And I'm like, what?
For how long?
Sometimes half an hour, sometimes 45 minutes.
Wow.
He'll just be in there. And I'm like, I'm leaving him to it. But like, if we put him in, like, look at your books, like, it doesn't work like that. Like, it's when he wants to, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, at this point when he drops that second nap, we will put him in there, and if he's like, nah, it's not happening, then we let the screen time come in for 25 to 30 minutes. And so far, it's only Miss Rachel.
Yeah.
And he is 14 months. And for me, and we've had these conversations, I'm like, he doesn't know any cartoons. Like, I went to a first birthday, and it was all Cars, the Disney movie for a 1-year-old. And like this 1-year-old knew like the Cars, the characters. And I'm like,
that was Poppy.
I'm like, how? Like, we're
She's
not
a
even
Disney
showing
kid.
him any of these movies though. Like, he doesn't have screen time like that. So like, he didn't know who Cars was. And then another one was like Spider-Man we went to, and like this kid knew Spider-Man. Like,
At
if
one?
you
At one?
At one.
Oh, wow.
Like, if you showed my child Spider-Man, he'd
Do
be
they
like,
have
I
an
don't know
older
who that is.
sibling? That kid?
No.
Oh.
Neither had older siblings. So I'm like, are we like behind on screen time? Because if he has screen times, he's only watching Miss Rachel.
Yeah.
And like he doesn't watch animation yet. So I'm like, he knows no characters. And I felt like guilty for that. Like, should he know like Mickey Mouse?
Yeah.
Should he know Spider-Man? Should he like know these people? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to, because I don't know. Some parents, okay, backtrack. I do want to say that as parents, we have stuff to do. Right.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the TV is a babysitter.
Right.
Right. And so for us, it was Miss Rachel and Miss Isa. Because Miss
I
Isa
love
is
Mrs.
like,
Isa.
she's like the Spanish version. So we would put that a lot for Saint too. So that was like the babysitter for a while. My mom, she would watch Saint. She would always have something on the TV. Always. And always, or like playing something. She doesn't like quiet.
Yeah.
So it's triggering for her. So I've had to actively, it's been like a tug and pull for me and her, and be like, do not turn on the TV, because we would have it on literally.
What about the music though?
All day.
I always have the music.
Yeah,
on.
music is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm saying because also that could attribute, even if he's silently playing by himself, if there's stuff playing all the time, it can also encourage ADHD, because they're even if they're not looking at it, they're like paying attention. There's like this, there's that, there's like
different things going on.
And I have ADHD, so I mean, I could genetically he could already have it genetically because I passed it. I don't know that, but I don't want to actively give that to him, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wish I could say, like, put it on for 20 to 30 minutes, but hell no, that thing is, like, on. Especially,
Really?
like,
See, because, and
is
that's
on.
like what I want to know, too.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel guilty leaving it on, like, that long.
Yeah.
Because he's still pretty little.
Yeah.
So I'm like, 25, 30 minutes. I could...
In
finish a
spurts.
last email, take a shower, come out and get him, then like try to figure out the rest of the leg.
Right. But I think at 14 months, they don't really actively watch. Like, they'll look up, they'll do something. But Saint, he's 21 months, he'll sit there and watch.
No,
like-
my kid is watching Miss Rachel. He's like obsessed with
he's
her.
really
Like he
watching?
laughs when they sing the
I
little
love
songs.
that.
We put him in the bouncer, so he's bouncing, and like so when a song comes on, he bounces like faster.
Yep.
And he's
Oh,
like
I
getting
love
all
that.
excited with the
But
song.
but I think also, yes, it counts as screen time with Miss Rachel, but it's like he's still learning.
That's where I'm
the
coming
thing.
from.
That's
yeah.
the thing. I feel like there's a lot of such a big range of options that we have when it comes to learning.
Yeah.
When it comes to what type of screen time, like I think that it's hard because as the wake windows get bigger, you're like, what the heck do I do with them?
Right.
Yeah.
For all this time, they can only do so much at certain ages.
Right.
And I think that's when we did.
And you
start
can
screen
only do so
time.
much until
Yes.
you want to blow your head off. And
yes.
I'm like,
Like we've done all the things.
Yeah.
I just can't. I just need to take a break. Like it's freaking 9 a.m. and we've painted. We've gone outside. We've
It feels like it's
done
3 p.m.
sensory bin.
Yeah.
We've done all the things. And like, I just need a break. But I do think like the quality of the screen time is what's
For
really
sure.
important. Because
Yes.
I do feel like we, for the most part, Poppy only watched Miss Rachel for like a really long time, I think, for the most part, except for we started implementing Disney movies, like certain ones that had
At
a lot
what
of
age?
music. She watched her first movie was Encanto, and she
Cute.
probably, I would say maybe she was like 9 months.
oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I used to just play, or a lot of the times I would be watching the Disney movie.
Yes.
Because
yes.
and like during the wake windows too, like I would because I had to hold Saint, and I have like a different, like I feel like the viewers listening or people listening know that by now Saint is like was not an easy sleeper.
Yeah.
So I had to hold him a lot of the times, and I would be bored. So I wouldn't watch. I would only watch Disney stuff.
Yeah.
And so it would always kind of be on, whether he was asleep or not, because I would have to be holding him. But he wouldn't start paying attention until maybe like 14 months, I want to say. Like to like the Disney movies.
Yeah.
Because
Poppy was already like at 9 when we first
She
showed
was
her
saying,
Encanto.
remember me.
Yeah, literally when we first showed her Encanto and Coco, specifically music heavy ones.
Yeah.
Immediately she's like, "Oh my God, what is this?" You
I
know,
love
she
that.
was
The music
in.
that we play, I made a playlist on Spotify, and I include the Disney songs.
Yes.
So when he does start watching these
recognize
movies, he knows the song. He's
Yeah.
like, wait, like I
Yeah,
do know those
I
songs.
do know this song.
But
yeah.
when I started incorporating cartoons, it was Bluey at first, because each episode is short. It's like 8 minutes or something. Or
and
10
Bluey's
minutes.
so
Really?
mature,
It's
I
short.
feel.
No, but it's for the younger kids.
Yeah.
But also for the parents too, because
Yeah.
they're also seeing how parents interact. They're seeing how the parents play with the kids. They're seeing like problem solving.
Yeah. We'll
They're saying
talk more about Bluey because I'm like, but I have both.
Yes.
I love
But
it
they're
and then
short.
I hate it sometimes.
But I like that they're short because
Yes.
You don't want them to be like glued and be like zombies.
Yeah.
So they're shorter episodes. He does not watch Peppa Pig. I do not let that
we
because
don't do
Why?
Peppa Pig, yeah.
because Peppa Pig has like an attitude, and like you see at this age, like they start copying stuff.
Oh yeah.
So
which is why
Interesting,
sometimes I also think Bluey sometimes has an attitude. Like there's certain things where I'm like, oh no, or like they're like forcing their parents to like play things at certain, and I'm like, oh lordy.
Yeah.
We don't need that. We don't need that type of energy. You know, like there's
Actually,
certain
that's true.
times
There
where
are
I'm like,
times.
okay, I do feel like Bluey is very mature. It's obviously mature because, yes, they have said it's for parents too. So I feel like Poppy is not as engaged in Bluey episodes because of that, because it's like more, a little bit more like problem solving. Yeah. And she's kind of like, I don't care, you know, but I do think like that sometimes I feel like there's so many different perspectives out there about screen time, and like one of them is, the shorter bite-sized type of stuff is like
better.
Some people feel like it's not as good because the attention is like kind of like how they say like, you know, lower stimulating shows, which Bluey is one of the lower stimulating shows. Watching
Little
more lower
Bear,
stimulating shows, watching like longer form content that's like kind of telling an overarching story. You know, like people just all have their different perspectives. None of it's right or wrong. We obviously don't know. We're not professionals.
Right.
Once again, we're stating this in this episode.
I'm learning.
but
Like, that's why I'm
it's-
listening, because I didn't know that about Bluey, and I didn't know that about Peppa
Also,
Pig.
Yeah, it's very-
He does. I'm so adamant about this. He cannot watch Cocomelon either.
Yeah, we don't do
Cocomelon.
Cocomelon.
I've heard there's a lot of
it's
bad
so
things
stimulating.
about Cocomelon.
It's super stimulating.
It's too
That's-
stimulating. So it does. The kids are super engaged in it because of how stimulating it is. So I don't want to watch that. I hate him to watch that. He also watches Little Bear. Because
yes,
I heard that's a
Show her
good
Little
one.
Bear.
I
Everyone
love
knows
Little Bear.
and Franklin.
Yeah,
Franklin,
I love
but
Franklin.
he recognizes. He'll say bear, duck,
Yes.
cat, meow. Like he'll.
What is Little Bear on?
That's
Is it Amazon?
no Paramount. I think it's Paramount.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I think that's like, because I do know a lot of parents whose babies are smaller, and I was like this when my baby was smaller, which was more like, you know, obviously you have to wait for them to get a certain age till they start watching more screen time. Now Poppy is 3, like she's at the age where it's fine, you know, and but I do feel like there's certain people who will not show their kids like learning things, and I think that we have so
There's
many
benefits of
resources.
it.
There's
Yeah.
so many benefits, and like I genuinely feel like Poppy has learned so much from some of the
Same.
shows that she watches. Like
No,
the other
literally.
night, she started saying all the planets, and we were like, she said something like, "Oh, mommy, that's the sun," and then my
I saw
husband
Drew's
asked her,
Instagram.
yeah, he was like,
Yeah.
"Wait, do you know other planets?" And then she's like, "Jupiter," and then she just started going on this whole tangent, and I was like, I mean, we've read about planets maybe once, but like I knew that's not where it came from,
Yeah.
and so we were like, "Where did you learn this?" And she's like, "Blippi."
Blippi.
Yes.
But see,
yes, Blippi.
that is true. Like, use the screen time wisely, which is what I've only done so
Yes.
far, Miss Rachel.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do like wanna for fun. Like, I want him to know like characters.
Yes, it's
but
fun.
but I definitely know there's a few things that Santi has learned. Again, he's 14 months, and he's been saying no for like
says no, yeah.
2 or 3 months. Which we have not taught him that.
Yes.
Miss Rachel teaches that. She teaches yes,
no.
and
Uh-huh.
she teaches
And
no.
no.
So now,
Yep.
like with food, I'm like, get his mas, and he'd be like, no. And I'm like, dude, we did not even teach him that. Like that definitely came from
Yeah,
Miss
Miss Rachel
Rachel.
taught Saint how to wave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Santi was waving early
Yeah.
too. And
How many months?
dude, I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was
Like 8, 9
last
months?
year. Yeah. Last
Yeah, I
year.
remember it was one of the milestones when we first started the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Early
they,
on, he was
they
waving.
really do like, and I obviously like Poppy was an early talker, and she's still like her vocabulary is amazing, and I, as much as I know that I'm like the yap factory that birthed her, which has a lot to do with why she's like that. Miss Rachel is like a close second. Okay,
Yeah.
she's like taught her enunciation. I feel like she uses words that I'm like, we don't even talk like that. Like she
Yeah.
said the other day, just because I told her it was time to go to sleep, and I was not yelling or shouting, by the way. She goes, "Mommy, you shout at me." I said, "Shout? Who says shout? I don't even use that word."
I don't even use the word shout.
But I know
LOL.
that she's like the vocabulary sometimes that maybe we don't use in our house like they use on Blippi or Bluey or whatever, especially one other cartoons that are based in different areas, like Blippi's from Australia or New Zealand, right?
That's right.
Peppa Pig is like English, so it's like it's funny to hear their little what they take from those shows sometimes, because you're like
accent.
you're kind of saying that with an accent.
But you know what I also do is I watch the Disney movies with him. And it's like a really cute bonding. So now he loves Frozen. And he'll even ask for it. He'll be like, Fro. Like he'll want to see Frozen.
Not Fro.
Not Fro.
So cute. Like there's still some movies like I do not do Lilo and Stitch. I tried it. But hell no.
Stitch is kind of scary, no?
No, but it's not even that.
She
it's a
says
little girl.
idiot, and she said,
the little girl has way too much of an attitude and she throws fits.
Yes.
And I don't want Saint. I actually played it for a little bit, and the first time she screamed, Saint started screaming. I was like, hell nah. So
and the beginning's kind of scary because it's like the coming down from the space time.
Right. Yeah.
And then she talks back to her sister like a lot, like the slamming the doors. Yes.
Yeah, there's no Lilo and Stitch.
You kind of learn like what does it, and I feel like Inside Out 2, unfortunately, we have to kind of like monitor that one because teenage, and she's like having the moments, and I'm like, we do not need that kind of energy being spilled into you right now.
Which is why too, like because he's like adamant he'll watch stuff. It's hard for me to watch anything. Like, so I don't get adult like screen time too because he actively watches it. So like when Zaire's in the living room, he'll watch his YouTube videos. So Saint he'll watch videos of like people cleaning cars, and so Saint will just like
he's gonna be the cleanest kid.
But Saint also copies us, so he'll clean and like, he'll vacuum and stuff.
I will say on the flip side, I know somebody who waited to show their kids any screen time until 4, and so on her 4th birthday, they were like, they would play the Disney soundtracks and songs. So on her 4th birthday, like she knew a lot of songs by then from the Disney movies. They're like, what movie do you want to watch? And she's like, Moana, the first one. Wow. So they made it a whole thing. They dressed up like Moana. They had like a whole little Moana party at the house, and she was so excited, and they put it on, and she was crying because I don't think I've ever seen Moana, but the grandma dies in the beginning.
Yeah, I cried. Mm-hmm.
And so at 4, she understands already grandma dying.
Wait, Saint too.
Already?
Yes. He was, it was, what movie was it? I don't remember which one it was, but he got teary-eyed. And even with Frozen, when she's like sad, he'll go, Mama. And he'll,
God.
So freaking
so
smart.
See, like movies like that, I'm like, I don't like.
Which is a lot of Disney movies, a lot
all
of people
the Disney
die.
Movies, Coco.
Poppy only got like that with Lion King. When Lion King,
I still cry in Lion King.
She was like,
I cannot watch that movie.
she was so little. She was probably like 12 months maybe. Yeah. Me and my mom were watching it, and she was just kind of playing, and then that part happened, and she was looking, and she's like, like she started panicking, and I was like, no, the daddy's just sleeping.
Sometimes.
See, is that stress that like when is that okay for them to like experience that? That's what I'm worried about.
And another thing too. So my son is biracial. Mm-hmm. He's half black, half Colombian, Nicaragüense, or third, whatever. But he's still a black kid, right? And so I'm also being very adamant about what I'm showing him. I don't want him to only see white princess girls. I want him to be, and like more than even that, it's just like what we read to him, what we show to him. We want him to see himself also. So like we played like Princess and the Frog too, but even that I'm fast forwarding because there's a lot of scary parts. Yeah. So I like a lot of the voodoo stuff.
Yeah.
I fast
because it's like
vacuum.
voodoo.
We fast
and
forward.
I've never seen that movie either.
It's really
a good
cute
movie.
But there's voodoo.
Yeah, a lot of voodoo, but it's scary voodoo. Voodoo isn't necessarily bad, but it's just like what they show.
Yes,
which
it's
I
like they like darken it and kind of make it like villainy because he's the villain in that, Yeah,
so I'm also careful too with what I'm showing him too, and showing, okay, Miss Isa who speaks Spanish, okay, Miss Rachel, she speaks English, Miss Tab, also Tabitha Brown, I play Miss Tab too.
I love her.
So we're showing him different stuff because I want him to be proud to be black, proud to be Latino, proud to be I was gonna say American, but also hello. But okay,
in this day and age,
are any of us from? I don't know right now.
Okay, so we do rely on screen time a little bit, and that's okay. Just figure out what is good for you, for your baby,
the quality,
and no judgment.
No judgment.
Moms, like, let's not judge anybody.
I also hate that.
There's some days where it's like so much.
You might need more than the other.
And there's some days where there's nothing, and you're like, oh wow, we went the whole day without watching TV. You know?
Yeah, no, those
I
are
feel like the older they get, the less that happens. Like they like Poppy asks for it now. You know, so it's different. But
the last thing I do want to say with that is that what we've implemented is no screen time before his first nap.
So that's
good. Or before any sleep.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he's still like,
Yeah.
we'll play with him. We'll go outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
TV can help us get through those moments,
Yes.
even now that we have older kids.
Yes.
So that's great
Yes.
to know that I can rely on that a little more. What about after baby got out of the infant stage to the newborn stage? I know for me, it was like, okay, now he's a little older. And I feel a little more comfortable with him meeting more people because those first 6 weeks, I was like, no. Like,
Yeah.
even though it wasn't in the like height of the pandemic, like I know you had Poppy, I was still very protective over him because
Yeah.
he was born in winter. So everyone is sick already.
Sick. Yep.
And I'm like, I just don't need to deal with a little tiny baby being sick. But now once we're in the infant stage, maybe I feel a little more comfortable. How did you guys feel about that?
I feel like my family had so much judgment on me because I didn't bring him around, 1. 2, the time that I did bring him around, like my family knew already, like they just kind of heard from like the grapevine that I was like, no, please no kissing babies, no da da da, and they thought I was silly, right?
Oh my God.
They thought I was silly about this, but the first time I brought him around the family, people would go in for kisses, and I felt weird that I'd be like, no.
Yeah,
and so it was weird that they were like puckering up to kiss him, and they'd be like, oh, and it was like a really weird interaction with a lot of family members. And so I think there was a lot of judgment and shame to me, but also like, I don't care. You're not going to be the one who's going to be with the sick child.
But my question is like, what was the scenario when you brought them around? Like, was it hey, here's a day where everyone's going to meet Saint, or was it just like a family party?
It was extended family, and that was at a family birthday party. It was a kid's birthday party.
Okay, so it was like a family function was already happening, and you took him.
Yeah, but no one had seen the baby other than immediate family.
Right.
So everyone was like, when can we come over? When can we? But it's like,
That's a lot.
If you didn't care about me while I was pregnant or while like in the newborn stage, you're not coming over. Because you didn't care. You only want to see the baby, which is fine. But also like, no.
Yeah.
And
but that also is kind of a blessing that people even wanted to meet the baby. Because I feel like some people just never reach out. And like I said, when we were talking about friendships, like some people never reach out and then they don't meet the baby. And then the first time they meet the baby's like a year old or 2 years old. And you're like, okay, well, that kind of sucks that they don't have a relationship with you at all, you know? But I do get it. Like when it's an influx of people, I feel like my biggest thing was when I would go places to family parties specifically. I saw this on Instagram from another mom. She was like, the baby carrier is going to save your life. And it really did.
Strapped to
because
you.
they're strapped to you. Her face is like, their face is like in your boobs. They're not like breathing. It feels like they're not breathing in the air of everybody else.
Yeah.
They're just breathing in your air. So
that's true.
during
like
post-pandemic, I was like, So I just had her in that thing for the most part. And people don't often ask to take the baby out of the carrier to hold them, right? They will often ask to take them out of the car seat, stroller, swing, but they're not often like, oh, can I unstrap them to carry them? You know, so it was kind of like a safe zone. I felt like,
babies
especially
with
when I was,
me.
Yes, like, and especially because they would often be asleep in there.
Right.
So it's like, oh, okay.
Don't wake
maybe,
them up.
Maybe when she wakes up later.
Yeah.
And then by that time, you're already leaving. So it's like, hey, bye,
Christine has the full plan out. Like, keep them in the carrier. They're asleep. Then they wake up when you leave.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a really, it's a sucky feeling for me at least. Like as a first-time mom, when you take the baby out and someone picks up the baby, but when they walk away with the baby,
oh, that's not okay.
Or when they walk away with the baby and they pass the baby to someone else. Yeah. That happened to me, and I was like, totally "What the hell?" And I was looking at them like, "What is happening?" Yeah. I was like, I was even contemplating, like, "Oh, do I take it?" Because it was also like not my family; it was Zaire's family, but then it was his family. But the person that took the baby took it to their family, and I was like, "Who the hell are you?" Like,
I feel like family feels entitled. Like I didn't hear from a lot of family during my pregnancy.
That's what I'm saying.
Nor even after, like during postpartum, and I was going through it, but they didn't know because they didn't reach out, and I'm not like, hey, guess what? I'm going through it. Like this is extended family, of course. Right. But then it's like once he was born, it's like I got congratulations, which was nice, and then it's like I wasn't going to all of the family functions, and I remember I didn't go to like a family function that I actually was gonna try to go to, and it was one of the times I had mastitis and I still couldn't really walk, and I remember not going, and like family members are still mad at me till this day for not going.
Was it like a wedding?
No, it was not a wedding.
That's annoying. Being
That
entitlement
is crazy.
And so I'm like, I don't know what
Yeah.
to tell you. And this is like a mom too, like a
Oh,
mom
no.
not far of
Probably-
age from us either. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like going back to like I think we were talking on the last episode, like with friendships and stuff, it goes for family too. Like
Yeah.
I'm not
Sure.
gonna go out of my way to try to make amends with whatever your deal is. Like
Yep.
you're mad because I didn't go to a family function when I was going through it.
Right.
And like all of these things were happening to me
Right.
postpartum, and you as a mom
Right.
should know or maybe understand like maybe something's happening.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
maybe it's something's going on.
Yeah.
And like you're mad, so I can't worry about
Yeah, hell no.
Your
what
feelings.
yeah,
Zero
your feelings.
sympathy.
I
Yeah.
really
People who
cannot.
care- Yeah.
And sometimes they don't think about like mom or non-mom. If they have older kids too, like they're not remembering how hard it is to take a small baby out of the house sometimes. And
Yeah.
that's saying that you're fully recovered. There's nothing going on with you, emotional, all that stuff is like good. But taking a small baby out of a house, whether you're breastfeeding, formula feeding, whatever,
Yeah.
like is a whole process that I don't think a lot of people think about or understand. Like I remember leaving the house with Poppy, I had the hospital grade pump for a while. So like when I would go to family things, like I remember, I think for Easter, her first Easter, I had to take the whole hospital grade pump with me and make sure that I brought all like, because I did use like special soap, which I know not everybody does. Like
Right.
I did certain things that I feel like were probably more anal than some people do. But like it literally is like a whole suitcase of things that you have to bring just to be able to feed your baby. They're having blowouts all the time at that age. So it's like, how many outfits do we have to bring? Making sure that they're going to be able to nap when they need to nap. Like people don't think about all those things, especially because you're like, if I don't do all these things, one, my baby's not getting what they need, which is my number one priority.
Right.
So if that means that I have to miss out on this other thing because my baby's needs really are that we just need to be at home and do all of this way,
then that's what it's going to
that's what
be.
it is.
And for me, the breastfeeding in public or just not at home was a big thing for me because of the mastitis so many times, because it was uncomfortable, because he had a tongue tie. I was never comfortable with being out because I had so many devices and things at home that I felt comfortable with.
Was it like the breast friend?
I had the breast friend and the boppy. And I had both. And then now I have like an arm pillow that you like slide on. So he just rests on it because he's bigger.
awesome.
It's amazing. And it's good for flying too if you're traveling with baby.
what?
Yeah,
Send me the link
arm
of this.
pillow.
it just slides on and like he goes on it because he's bigger now. But like I have all of these things at home. I have the pump if I need it. Like I don't want to be out. And I remember we would even try to go to lunch. Like, let's get out and like get out and like go have lunch. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to prepare to like breastfeed him. Like that was anxiety and stress for me.
Bring all those pillows and stuff. I remember we did bring the Boppy and the breast friend a couple times. We had the Mockingbird stroller, so I feel like I had enough room underneath. But I was like, this is really actually insane. And people are probably like, again, thinking of what people think. I'm like, people are probably looking at us like, why do they have it? I think it was the first time we went to Disneyland. I had to bring, because she was still breastfeeding. She was 9 months. I think we brought just the Boppy. And I was still like, oh, we have to go through security with all this stuff. And same as when you're traveling, like it's like you have to bring all the gadgets and contraptions and swaddles and pillows and like, I don't know.
And it's just like you were saying, it's just not worth it for me to do all of these things.
No.
And I know this function is happening and like that's amazing. I can't make it. Like it for me.
All of this to be there for like 2 hours. You're like,
not
absolutely
even
not.
because then I'm also still trying to make sure he's getting his naps, and then it's like in between a nap, and there's so much shit happening, and like.
And then sometimes I feel one of my biggest annoyances during this time was being stuck in the room while everybody else was enjoying the party or the function, like because I wouldn't breastfeed in front of family, like I wouldn't
either.
So I would go to the room, and then if she fell asleep I'd just stay in the room. And I remember like those first few holidays I was like, I'm just stuck in here, I'm in here for 2 hours, it's so lonely.
I didn't.
You forgot about it?
No, I forgot. Like other moms could relate to that. 'Cause,
Yeah.
his first Thanksgiving, we were at family's house, and I was just in the room for like an hour.
And you hear everyone having a joyful time, laughing, drinking, eating.
Mean, I preferred being in there because I really didn't even want to go because there's just so much. And I was also an undersupplier, so I would breastfeed, and I would also have to bring frozen milk. That's either that from I pumped or from the donor that I got. So I had to make sure it would stay frozen. Then I would have to find like something hot to put in it. It was just a thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole process,
Yeah.
and I think like in my situation, I was telling you, this person is a mom, but a mom to older kids. It's like, did you forget? Or maybe your visions, or maybe you weren't breastfeeding, or maybe like you didn't have, like, we are raising our kids differently, and that's okay. But the way I am raising my kid, like, I am prioritizing breastfeeding, nap times, my comfort as well, being comfortable. And also, like, my family doesn't really live close to me, so driving with the baby that small,
oh my god,
is
the
also a
driving,
thing.
nobody talks about that enough, and I feel like that is such an anxiety, like, strikes anxiety in different ways. One, like driving with the baby when they're screaming their head off. That was a big trigger for me. Huge. And oh my God, I just couldn't even, I think like I get overstimulated, as we talked about. And I feel like I was like, I can't do two things at once. I can't be hearing this baby screaming and also like drive and be okay.
Focusing on the road.
Yes. It was like, because obviously you want to like fix it, right? And when you're breastfeeding, I remember one time Drew was driving and I literally had to like whip the boob out, put it in her mouth as we're driving, because that was the only thing that was going to soothe her. And I'm like, I can't deal with the screaming, because it was a long time screaming, and she would like give herself hives and all that stuff for like an hour drive. Like if we were like, I remember we went to the Grove for like Easter photos, and she was so tiny. She was like 2 months old. And that whole drive home was absolute hell on earth, because she just screamed for the whole hour. Because when the car wasn't moving, that's another thing. I feel like, oh my God, as long as the car is moving, angels, complete angel, asleep, doing her thing. The minute that car stops screaming their heads off, I'm like, they need to invent something in cars where you press a button and it makes moving. Because every mom would be like, yes, add that feature. I don't care how much it costs.
I didn't need that feature. Santi's was like, it's even rare now, like even. I have to try to keep him awake. Like if it's not his nap time, I don't want to go, because this dude's gonna fall asleep. Even if he just woke up from a nap, he's in the car. He's like, God. He's like comfy. He's like out, and I'm like, we have to schedule where we're going around his nap time. Because it's a shit show.
Poppy will sleep now when it stopped. Now, if she's already asleep, like she doesn't wake up when it stopped. But back then, it was just really bad.
Okay, can we just stop and just talk about how dope this recording studio is? I feel like everyone hits me about like where it's at, how cool it is, what's the situation. It's called Project Studios in Monterey Park.
Everything is here, and the staff does everything for you as well. The editing, the producing, the lighting,
the cameras,
everything. But we need that good lighting. We got it here.
And you could create such dope content here. Like downstairs is a full production area that literally is like for music videos, big scale production. And next door they even have a place where like you can do flat lays if you sell clothing, jewelry, whatever you sell. It's like professional level studio next door that you can use.
And it's only 9 minutes from downtown LA. And there's parking here. In LA, it's so annoying to find parking. And I know that was a big thing when we were looking for podcast space, was where in LA that we can all park and feel safe and feel comfortable. Yes. And that is here. Make sure to follow them on Instagram so you can see more of all the fun stuff they do at Project LA. And you can schedule a creative consultation at projectstudios.com.
Tell them we sent you. And I feel like the anxiety around driving too was a big thing for me. Like even after the hospital, I remember that first drive home, I was like, oh my God. Is everyone else being careful? Is talking about like postpartum anxiety, like driving her myself, because we got so used to like Drew driving and me being in the backseat like for a while. You know, it was like I did not drive her alone for probably, I would say, I think 2 months is when I started. But like that second month, I was like, oh my God, okay, Christine, make sure you're paying attention to everything. Like like you're just hyper aware, because you're like, somebody could just.
It's precious cargo.
Yeah.
And now I understand why people have those baby on board things.
Oh my God, like, because totally it's like pay attention.
Yeah, and like there's a baby here. So if I'm driving really slow, like it's for a reason. Like,
and Nikki, you had like a pretty traumatizing experience with this.
Man, it's the same thing. I would always be in the back seat. Zaire would always be driving. So it was a weekend. Zaire had to go away for work. So that weekend, I was just me, Saint, and my mom was with us. So I was like, I need to go to Sprouts. Let's go to the grocery store real quick, right? First time I had ever driven the car with Saint in the back. He was 6 weeks old. I'm at a stoplight. A car hits my car.
No.
Hits my car. I hit the car in front of us. We're at a red light.
Oh my God.
I got out of the car,
Furious.
pissed off, yelling, I have a baby in the car. What are you doing? And y'all know me as the calm one. So talk about rage.
But once you mess with Mama bear.
the
Like,
It's
I'm
a different
stopped.
of
Like,
your
what
baby.
the hell? I'm stopped. Like, how do you not see me?
Yep.
And the wild thing is that he ended up saying, "Oh, I got confused with the gas and the brake."
What?
I was like,
What do you mean?
What the hell?
Do you know how
How
to
long
drive?
have you been driving? What are you talking about?
I was, man, the way that I was pissed. So, like, we had to, like, move and whatever, like, the 3 cars, the car in front of me, because I hit that car, me and the car that hit me. We had to pull over, obviously. The car in front of me that I hit ended up yelling at the guy, too.
Good.
And then he ended up being like, I don't want to be part of this. So he ended up leaving. So it wasn't like a big dent. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care what happened to my car. I know it was fine. It was like a small dent. I
Yeah.
ended up calling the cops, calling the paramedics. And they were saying that they wanted to take Saint to the hospital because he was so little. He was 6 weeks old. So you don't know what internally could have happened to him.
Right.
So they were like, what do you guys want to do? Zaire was panicking because he was out of town.
Yeah.
So he happened to text me because he was flying. He happened to text me right after it happened, him being like, "Oh, I'm at my layover," and I text him, "We just got into an accident." Now he's freaking out because he's nowhere near us, in some other state. He's freaking out, don't know what's happening. So I ended up deciding to go to the hospital, but I drove myself because also the paramedics would have been like a crazy bill.
Yeah.
And then I'm
So much
also
money.
tripping because Saint at 6 weeks, there was no vaccine. He wasn't vaccinated at all. So I'm paranoid. Is this hospital going to keep the baby? Like, if they ask me he's vaccinated, like, what's going to happen? So I'm calling my doctor. I'm saying, like, what should I do? Should I take him to the hospital? If they ask about vaccinations, what do I say? Like, as a pediatrician, can you stand up for me too? And, like, if things were to go to court, my pediatrician would go to court with us and, like, stand for us and whatever. So I had to think about all of these things, and I was just trying to go to the grocery store.
Right.
And so that was...
You still need to go to Sprouts.
So, yeah, I have to go to Sprouts. I didn't even go to Sprouts.
Yeah, you still don't
It
even
was
get
a
your
really
groceries.
big traumatizing. And then I didn't have enough milk with me, too, because we had to go to the hospital. It was a whole thing at 6 weeks old.
And that's a lot of pressure for people to just think like, oh, come over, or like, come here, meet me here. Like, I have a baby.
Nope.
And like, nobody thinks of these things. I do remember like, when Santi was probably like 5 months, my girlfriend who has a baby, it was his second birthday, and we went to his first birthday when I was pregnant. And so I wanted to go to his second, but Henry was out of town. And she doesn't live close to me either, probably like 50 minutes to an hour away. And it was on a weekend when he was out of town. And I'm like, okay, well, Santi's 5 months, so he's a little older. But because he's a good sleeper, I had the opposite anxiety. It wasn't him screaming. It was him
sleeping.
So sound asleep. I'd be like, is he breathing? Is he alive? Like,
Right.
I would take him to the chiropractor by myself, and that I don't have to get on the freeway to do that. And I literally remember pulling over 4 times. I'd go into residential areas and get out and make sure he was breathing, and be like, okay, he's breathing.
Yeah.
And then I went a few blocks, and then I had to get out and make sure he was breathing.
Do you have the camera?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Yes,
Didn't
but
you have the outlet too, Sock, or no?
I do, but it's in the crib.
Oh,
The outlets for the crib.
Got it.
So for driving, I'm paranoid. I was paranoid for the longest time. I'm like, dude, he's not breathing. Because I'm telling you, he's out like a light.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm driving, he's done. He's out. So I'm like, oh my gosh, anxiety. So I remember this birthday party. I'm like, I think I could do it. And I like RSVP'd. I'm like, I'm going to go.
I'm going to be brave.
I'm going to go. Yeah, I got this. And like the day before Henry left, I'm like, babe, I'm so worried. Like, I don't think I can do it. Like 50 minutes to go to the chiropractor, which is 10. I pulled over 4 times, and I'm going to have to go on multiple freeways. I'm not going to be able to pull over like that. I'm going to be so like stressed the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's like, just tell her like you can't. And I remember like we have a group chat, me and Henry and her husband. And so I wrote, I'm like, hey you guys, like I'm not going to go. As you know, Henry's out of town, but like honestly, I'm just stressed because it means I have to drive alone with the baby. Yeah. And she's like, I totally get that. I didn't drive alone with my baby, he's a boy too, until he was like 7 months old. And I was like, it was such a weight off my shoulders because she understood what I was saying. Like she wasn't mad at me. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, she gets it. And then her husband was even like, yeah, she wouldn't drive with him. Like I had to be there. Like
Thanks, he's like, I second that.
Yeah, it was like a whole, and I'm like, good, I'm not alone. She gets it. I'm not in trouble. Like with the family members that are mad, I feel like I'm in trouble. I feel like, oh my gosh. Like,
you know what? And I was actually surprised that you came to Saint's birthday party too, because you live so far.
Right.
And I would have had I have zero judgment or like anything when like moms have to cancel. Even if it's last minute.
My husband was with me. I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
Like we were together.
We live far from each other.
I do live far. far. But had I been alone, like if Henry was out of town or couldn't go, I would not have gone.
Yeah.
And even now, if it's a far drive, like I won't go only because this guy's out. Like we drive to Mammoth with him and he sleeps almost the whole time. I have to wake him up.
5 hours?
5 hours, a little over 5 hours. And I have to wake him, I have to be in the back seat entertaining him. Like, what am I going to do now? I feel like I have to wear like a clown
Does
hat.
that affect him at night? How he sleeps?
Well, yeah, but that's why I have to
'cause
keep
then
him
he's
awake.
up, yeah.
I literally have to be back because he'll relax. Like he's like, I'm out.
Oh my God.
Yes,
We
so-
both, it's like we all have this like same level of stress, but for completely opposite reasons.
Opposite. Yeah.
Wow.
So the sleep thing and people understanding you when you're going with the sleep thing, the naps,
Yes.
the breastfeeding, the everything is so important and so annoying
God.
at the same time.
Yes.
Thank God for mom friends who get it.
And
Yep.
if you're not a mom that gets it, get with the program, please.
Or just let us be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like if you're not going to be with
Yeah.
the program that we're on, like don't have animosity. Don't like have pressure on us.
Yep.
Just leave us
Please.
be in our mom world.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
honestly the easiest thing. And on top of everything, we already talked about regressions. We didn't get into growth spurts.
Oh my gosh.
God.
Teething.
Teething. Oh
Starting
my gosh.
solids. Oh, stressful.
Traveling with
time.
baby
Yeah.
once they're a little older.
Oh my gosh.
We are going to get
yes.
into all of that on the next episode.
Yay!
Thanks so much for hanging out with us on Nightclubs to Night Feeds. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we are, of course, always continuing the conversation on our social media. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Nightclubs to Night Feeds. That's at Nightclubs, the number 2, and then Night Feeds. Make sure to follow us and let us know if there's a topic you want us to cover. Can't wait to chat next time.